Hazrat, about the verse from Surah Al-Isra, which Abdurrahman did ask about yesterday. Hazrat explained the meaning of T'ahir from the teaching of the Holy Quran.
Yes.
And we reached the word unuqihi.
Yes.
And Hazrat did mention about Hablul Warid and the time.
That's right. What I wanted to say, I think most of what I wanted to say has already been said, but I wanted to add some more information regarding the recording system of God. The unuq is used only to indicate that we are closest to you, like the ayah of Hablul Warid mentions. We are also in the unuq. So the recording system is done under God's command, and everything one does is recorded in a system which we do not know, but now man has just begun to peep into that. They have discovered that everything that man does or any animal does is recorded in his cells, and that recording can never be deleted. And also on his skin, on his teeth, on his eyes are imprints made of what such a person has been doing and what diseases he has been suffering from, what sort of life he has led. So when they excavate old mummies, they rebuild the entire personality of the mummy from the recorded messages on the mummified body. So, but the Holy Quran said 1400 years ago could not be even dreamt of by any human of that age. But the Holy Quran is a fantastic thing. It's the word of God, it's not the word of man. So that is why everything is covered, and even the minutest details are recorded. Like that verse which reminds us, وَمَا لِهَذَا الْكِتَابِ لَا يُغَادِرُ صَغِيرَةً وَلَا كَبِيرَةً إِلَّا أَحْصَاهَا. The man, when he would hear his record, he would express in his wonder what sort of book that is. It doesn't leave the smallest thing, nor the biggest. Everything is recorded. Now I wanted to add some more information to this from the point of view of scientists' discoveries. The scientists have discovered that the dinosaurs which died and got buried under layers upon layers of ice and other or earth and things, they died around 20 billion, no more than that, around 164 million years they had perished. Can you imagine the figure 164 million years? The known age of human history that begins from Hazrat Adam is only 6,000 years by now. And there is so much noise made by humans on earth, as if they owned it and everything belongs to them. Yet the dinosaurs who died and perished under special command of God within a very short period, they completely disappeared from earth. Around before 164 million years, their buried bodies have been discovered, and from their skins they have also separated certain cells which are not totally disorganized as yet, and they are they bear the genetic symbols of the animals to which they belong. And they have now developed the system by which if the entire cell is found to be intact, through cloning, that animal could be created again. Now this cloning is something which is becoming very which has made such a noise nowadays, and on television, on newspapers, you hear and read about the cloning. Cloning means you take a cell of a living organism, and if you have the know-how and mechanism how to develop it, and you develop the cell, and that cell will create a full human being to which it belonged, or a full animal to which it belonged, without any meeting of man and woman, without any uterus involved. That cell itself, because it contains every information. So, prototype is needed to produce mass scale humans of exactly the same type. You slice off the cells and put them into the system which they have developed, or about to develop, I should say. Partially they have developed in application to animals, but not so far in application to humans. They say we can produce a regiment of humans which are specifically ordered. That we want humans, hard-hearted humans for fighting, who know no mercy, who are very tough, very rigid. They only accept orders, don't give orders. So these sort of computerized humans can be created from this cloning. And the important thing to be remembered in this regard, in relation to the Holy Quran, is that the Holy Quran speaks of skins. In the hereafter, the human skin will bear witness against the person to which it belongs. Julud. Now, it is understandable if the Holy Quran says, when it says that your eyes will bear witness against you, your ears, your mouth, it's understandable. But how could a human of that age conceive the idea of skin bearing witness? And this has been proved beyond a shadow of doubt, that of all the cells which the humans carry, the toughest are those of the skin, and they retain their qualities for millions of years. So that is why they are thinking, if possible, if they ever get a cell intact, they have got some cells which are partially intact, but if they get a totally intact cell of a dinosaur, they can reproduce a dinosaur from that cell. But this is the memory system which the Holy Quran mentions. It's a fantastic book. On the skin of animals is imprinted the memory of that person, which is practically indelible. And from that, the possessor of that cell can be raised again. And yet, the non-believers, doubt the recreation of humans. So the Holy Quran has provided every evidence in favor of all the claims it makes. Right? حتى إذا ما جاءوها شهد عليهم سمعهم وأبصارهم وجلودهم بما كانوا يعملون. See? कौन सी? अच्छा. وقالوا لجلودهم لما شهدتم علينا. Now that means they knew that eyes can and the ears can. But how could Julud do it? So this addressed not their eyes and sama, but Julud. وَقَالُوا لِجُلُودِهِمْ لِمَا شَهِدْتُمْ عَلَيْنَا قَالُوا أَنْطَقَنَا اللَّهُ الَّذِي أَنْطَقَ كُلَّ شَيْءٍ وَهُوَ خَلَقَكُمْ أَوَّلَ مَرَّةٍ وَإِلَيْهِ تُرْجَعُونَ. So this هُوَ خَلَقَكُمْ أَوَّلَ مَرَّةٍ وَإِلَيْهِ تُرْجَعُونَ is a lasting statement, because the address seems to have taken place on the day of judgment, and from the day of judgment there is no question of turjaun. So this address is in fact to the people here on earth, a reminder to them that beware now, we have demonstrated the skins will bear witness, so do not have any doubts about your resurrection, and you will return to God and you will be answerable. So this is the Quranic style of turning from here to the hereafter, from hereafter back to here, just to remind man of his responsibilities. Right?
حدث.
It is applied to the Quranic Kareem in one sense, but to the register of records of God in another sense. So both meaning are simultaneously applicable, but it's not the only one which you are mentioning. When say the Hadal Kitabe, there the first reference is to that book of recording memories. That book which records all the memories. And when it comes to the Quran, then the Holy Quran always contains also everything about it. So it's a double reference, right?
يقول حضرة من
We have already proved that the Holy Quran does not leave anything out. So, but of each man's detail, when we speak of each man's detailed actions of all his life, then it is not the Quran which is mentioned here. Then that book of registration, that register of recording of memories which the Holy Quran speaks of.
Yes. يقول.
Now another very important thing which is related to this discussion is the pride of man and the arrogance of man of this age. When they have discovered ways and means to interfere into the creative phenomenon of humans or life, they have made, research into how life came into being and how it developed and how it happens, how it is governed. It's a research of hundreds of years which have reached a stage now where they think they can imitate the Creator God, and they can take the creation of God into their own hands and mold it as they please and change it to other things. Now this fills them with the conceit that they are practically becoming gods. And ordinary people who do not know these things, they are impressed. They think, no, they have done everything. Where is the need for God? If God created, man can create as well. So on that issue, I must enlighten you, so that you may not be misled at all, and you can put those on the right path who are overmuch impressed by these things. Number one, they cannot create a single cell themselves. The idea of cloning should not mislead you to believe that they create the human cells and the character-bearing genes, etc. They do not do that. They borrow it from creation. They borrow these things from humans or other forms of life, and every brick of life is created by God. They do not create bricks of life. The bricks of life of which all humans are built are an extremely complicated affair. It's so complicated that they have not yet fully understood the mechanism and how it works. At many a time they accept defeat. We can't understand this. It seems to be impossible. But it happens. So So do not be overmuch awed by what you hear of the propaganda of cloning on television, radio, etc. and when you read about it. What they do is they pick up a certain character from a gene. You know, the human cells are made of an outer wall. They're very small, they're invisible. Without the aid of special microscopes, it's not possible for humans to see them. But consider them large, like could डब्बिया type की चीज़ हो ना? ये बक्स दे दें, यही बक्स. You see, suppose this is the cell. There is an outer cover like this. Then there is a sap solution like within. And right in the middle is a nucleus in the center, which carries all the important things within itself. And the nucleus gets its food from the surrounding liquids. And the outer wall is in connection with the human or animal bloodstream. So whenever oxygen and sugar and other things are needed by the nucleus within, they are transported into the cell through a very complicated mechanism which they have just begun to understand. For them to do all these things is impossible. So what they do is they have studied the nucleus under very powerful microscopes, and they discovered that the nucleus, very small cell, but a much smaller nucleus within it, is composed of long threads. They are wound around each other in a special order. Each thread is divided into many small sections, and each section is called a character-bearing gene. And in those genes is computerized by God that you are responsible for the making of eyes, you are responsible for the making of teeth, you are responsible for the making of human reproductive system, you are responsible for creating manly characters, you are responsible for creating feminine character, you are responsible for the system of pigmentation, the color of the skin and things, and eyes, you are responsible for the nature of the hair one will have, you are responsible for the time control, when the teeth should begin to grow, when they should begin to shed, and when they should stop growing. All these complexities are fed into that small nucleus of a very tiny cell which you can't see. And each nucleus is divided into these threads. The threads carry these small genes, and the information they contain, if the knowledgeable scientists tell us, if that information is recorded in human language and printed in books, you know how many, if I don't remember the exact figure, but about, let's say, 25,000 books of 1,000 pages each are fully devoted to the information contained in these small genes or cells. A man can start reading them all his life, he will not be able to exhaust the information which is contained there. So how can they take pride in stealing a small thing from here and there and trying to pose themselves as creators. It's extremely arrogant, extremely stupid and small and base and mean. But ordinary people, when they read in the newspapers and hear the term, they're very impressed. You see, man has done this. Man can create. Man cannot create. But when he will create, he will be punished. This is what I wanted to tell you ultimately, that the Holy Quran has not even left this much. The author of the Quran, when it was being dictated these things, knew that at a time will come when Satan will breathe into humans to start behaving like gods, to interfere in the creation of God. And when they start interfering in the creation of God and begin to change it, then they will be punished. So this is the time we are witnessing. So Male Hazar Kitab La Yughadiru Saghiratan Wala Kabiratan Illa Ahsaha is also applicable to the book Quran. Doesn't leave anything out. The verse which I had in mind is this: when Satan got a lease from him up to the time of the resurrection, it gave me a lease, long lease of freedom, which I may whatever I like, and don't stop me forcibly. And I'm going to mislead your people, your servants. Allah Ta'ala in answer tells him, yes, you are given a lease, but you think you will have your authority on my servants. You're wrong there. That verse is not here, but Laysa laka alayhim sultan. As far he say, the Holy Quran says, Allah Ta'ala will address the Satan and said, look here, as far as my servants are concerned, Ibadur Rahman, you have no influence over them. They will reject all insinuations and all, whisperings, satanic whisperings. They will not be influenced by them. Whatever is left are not my servants. You can do whatever you like. But all of you will be shoved into hell, remember this. Because ultimately you have to return to us. And here the Holy Quran reveals this secret, which was completely unknown to the man of even previous century, not to mention 1400 years ago. Then the Satan tells God what he will do to his servant, to mankind. وَلَا أُضِلَّنَّهُمْ وَلَا أُمْنِيَنَّهُمْ وَلَا آمُرَنَّهُمْ فَلَيُبَتِّكُنَّ آذَانَ الْأَنْعَامِ. That is one thing, which is simple. Even the Arab idolaters used to slice or create, carve a slit in the ears of some camels, etc., to indicate that they belong to our idols and nobody should touch them. So this splitting of the ears or marking them with a knife is ordinary thing. There is no problem. But from there, the calling of partners with Allah begins. And once it begins, then it goes on and on until man himself will claim to be a god. And this is the ultimate end that Satan will lead them on. So a sort of surgery is needed for this first part. وَلَا يُبَتِّكُنَّ أَمُرَنَّهُمْ فَلَا يُبَتِّكُنَّ آذَانَ الْأَنَامِ. Will make slits or cut off slices from the Azan al-Anam. People don't realize that it is the beginning of surgery, which will end up in a very different type of surgery. So the Satan would say, وَلَا آمُرَنَّهُمْ فَلَا يُغَيِّرُنَّ خَلْقَ اللَّهِ. The second part is the most threatening one. This is the time which we are witnessing. When you make a cut on any part of human body or animal body, you don't change khalqullah at all. It's a completely different thing which is said in this verse. The second stage or ultimate stage of this beginning would be that having gained some supremacy in the art of surgery, they would at last begin to change the khalq of God, the creation of God. This is called genetic engineering. To change of khalqullah is genetic engineering. So even genetic engineering is mentioned here, but with a warning. وَمَنْ يَتَّخِذِ الشَّيْطَانَ وَلِيًّا مِنْ دُونِ اللَّهِ فَقَدْ خَسِرَ خُسْرَانًا مُبِينًا يَعِدُهُمْ وَيُمَنِّهِمْ وَمَا يَعِدُهُمُ الشَّيْطَانُ إِلَّا غُرُورًا. This is the only prophecy of scientific advancement which follows by a threat from God, that when you do this, you will be punished. Read all the other prophecies, there is no threat. They just mention the prophecies of things to appear in future. But when God speaks of this يُغَيِّرُونَ خَلْقَ اللَّهِ, it warns, وَمَنْ يَتَّخِذِ الشَّيْطَانَ وَلِيًّا مِنْ دُونِ اللَّهِ فَقَدْ خَسِرَ خُسْرَانًا مُبِينًا. These people will suffer a great loss. They don't know what they are going to do. They will suffer from the consequences and they will not gain anything from this. This is now the hot subject of discussion of the people at the highest level of government and the highest level of scientific occupations. Even President Clinton has appointed a commission to go into this and advise American government if, like Europe, this type of change in the creation of God should be forbidden or not. In America it's not forbidden. In all over Europe they have already taken the wise decision of forbidding this science to poke its nose further into the creation of God and not to try to change one insect into another, one animal into another, and so on. So this warning of the Quran is I believe will not be taken seriously, and they will make a mistake. Because when the Satan says فَلَا يُغَيِّرُنَّ خَلْقَ اللَّهِ, Allah Ta'ala does not reject this claim of Satan. The Satan says, when I will tell them to change the creation of God, they will change, most certainly. If man was not to do this, then God should have told here the Satan, no, this we will not permit you. We will not go that far. People will not follow to that extent, follow you to that extent. This is missing from the Quran. It's a very grave warning. Things will happen and they will go out of hand of man. He may create artificial men who will take over the command of the world from them and begin to rule them themselves. This is the sort of thing which is quite possible, but the time will tell what may happen, right? Well, a slitting of ears is just a small thing. Even much older people could do. They fought, they cut each other's throats and things. Slitting is not something which the Satan breathes into humans. It is mentioned because it was a sign of idolatry. The animals were dedicated to some imaginary gods. But it is an operation anyway. So the ultimate of this would be tabdeel khalq, which is done through genetic engineering nowadays. That's what I said.
يقول
Now time is over. So inshallah we'll meet next week. And you know the change of time is...
I was told.
Good. And you'll be here inshallah. Thanks. Very happy to have you among us. But this question was very important, so it took all the time of yesterday and today. So inshallah you will be given a chance tomorrow or when we meet again to ask any questions you like, right? Okay. Assalamu alaikum.
يقول حضرة المؤمنين سأفسح لكم المجال كي تسألوا أسئلتكم في الحلقة المقبلة. شكرا على حسن المتابعة والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.